Hello family, friends, followers, and the occasional guest. I've been thinking about Iran and some of the things that it's attempted to do, and so the thoughts have turned to bullies and how to deal with a bully. I was a junior in high school, spring, so that would have been 1964. And I was in study hall. I had Lissa Keating sitting beside me on my right, and Elizabeth Mills, was sitting across from Leslie, and then Bill, who I'll leave his last name out of this, it doesn't matter, but Bill sitting straight across from me. I don't know what prompted him, but one day in the spring he hauled off and he kicked me underneath the table, and it hurt. Ouch! And everybody kind of looked around, and then they looked back to whatever they were doing, and Bill leaned forward. He said, "You want to fight?" I said, "What?" He goes, "You want to fight?" I didn't want to fight. So, the next day, the same thing happened again. First day I said no. The second day I said no. A couple days went by. It was a Thursday, and he did it again. So that night I talked to Dad. And I said, "Dad, what do you do when you got somebody like this?" And I explained to him what was happening. And Dad said, "Well, he thinks he wants to be a bully." And I said, "Yeah, but the question is, what do I do?" He says, "Well, you have some options. One is you can let yourself be bullied. Another one is you can go to people who maybe have some control over that and stop it." And then he started laughing because he remembered my third grade story of going to the teacher and nothing happened. I got a chipped tooth from Bobby Stewart throwing rocks out of Lynx Hollow School. But anyway, I wander all over the place. The bottom line is, he said, "Or you can take some direct action." I said, "What does direct action mean?" Direct action means. He says, "Well, you can shoot the little son of a bitch." I thought, man, that's drastic. He said, "Or you know where he lives." He said, "At night he'll either be coming out of the house or he'll be going into it." He says, "Hit the little son of a bitch with a baseball bat right alongside the head. If he wakes up, you'll never have another problem." Dad, those are kind of drastic. I said, "I'm not sure I'm ready for that." He said, "Well, I was giving you the extreme." He said, "What bullies don't like is they don't like to be confronted. So confront him. Let him know and this is what Dad said, let him know this shit's got to stop." I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll think about that." So Friday, and this is summertime, this is back in the 60s, or springtime, everybody's wearing their Converse tennis shoes. Those of us that were cool, we had Converse. And so anyway, I'm thinking, okay, and I put on my Red Wing boots. Now at that time I had 3 jobs. I worked at Larry's American Family Steakhouse in Cottage Grove, and I had just been asked if I wanted to be the assistant manager. I worked for my dad installing rain gutters on homes with this new thing called continuous rain gutters, and I detailed cars down at Holloman Ford. All my spare time I spent dating. I had just broken up with my girlfriend, Phyllis Cass, and my best friend, Mark Smith, had started dating her, and there's some really fun stories to go with that. But anyway, I laced up my Red Wing boots. They have a real soft crepe sole on them, and they were good for walking on roofs without tearing roofs up. And so I waited, wondering if Bill was going to kick me again. And sure enough, he did. And he looked at me and he leaned forward. And as he's leaning forward, I'm leaning back. But what I was doing was I was cocking my leg back and Bill says, you want to fight? And I said, sure. Whack. I kicked him really hard. I said, I want to fight. I said, tonight, after school, on the practice field. And he said, what? I said, you heard me. Tonight after school on the practice field. The rest of the day, this was second period, I think, in the morning. The rest of the day, when Bill would see me in the hallways or whatever, he'd say, are you sure you want to do this? Blah, 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 you know. And he tried to weasel out of it. I was angry enough that I didn't care whether I got the crap beat out of me. Dad said, the way you get a bully to stop is you keep coming. If they win the fight, they fight again the next day, and the next day, and the next day, until either you can't fight anymore or they're tired of fighting. And so Bill and I got ready for the big fight, and there was a big crowd of people around up on the practice field, and we each kind of had our side. There was others who were just observing. So we square away, like, and kind of getting ready. And Bill's got this great big gaudy ring on his finger. It looks like a crown, and the piece is stuck out about that far on it. And Bill looked me right in the eye and he says, you want me to take my ring off? And he started to turn it down in toward his hand. I said, no. I said, you son of a bitch, wear it. You're going to need it. And that's where I won the fight, right there. But we went ahead and did the fisticuff things, and Bill was one of the Smoky Joes, and his idea of fighting was to try and kick me in the balls. And I'd had a little bit of boxing. My dad had given me a little bit of training, and every time he did, I blocked his kick away and gave him a jab to the face and a right cross. He went down for the third or fourth time, and he didn't want to get up, but he did, and he's all bent over with his hands over his head, and he's going, I don't want to fight, I don't want to fight, we're done, we're done. And I said, no. I said, we are not done. You may be done, but I'm not. And because he had his back to me, I hit him in the ass as hard as I could. Not intentionally, but I hit him a little bit low. And down he went, all doubled up. And I hit him pretty hard in the family jewels. So the fight was over, and Jerry Arney got in my face. Jerry Arney was a senior. He was tall. At the time we had this fight, I weighed about 130 pounds. I don't know what Jerry weighed, but he weighed a lot more than me. And Jerry told me that I fought dirty and that he was going to clean my clock. So the bus loaded and Jerry was riding the bus. I got in my Buick and I followed the bus. Links Hollow. Jerry was a neighbor. Tom and I were good friends, Jerry's brother. And so I followed the bus home, Jerry's home. And his dad's name was Dean Arney. And so Jerry saw me come up the driveway. He was walking up the driveway, and he run to the house, and he went inside and shut the door. I got there right after I shut it, and I could hear him say, tell Don I'm not here. So I knocked on the door, and Dean came to the door. And I said, Jerry and we need to have a talk. Could you send him out? And Dean's eyebrows went up, and he goes, I sure can. And he did. So Jerry and I had a communication. I told him if we were going to fight, since he was so offended about how I fought, we're going to fight right now. And I said, and if ever there's another time we're going to fight and we haven't fought right now, I said it's going to be totally on my terms. So Jerry decided that maybe everything had worked out the way it was supposed to be. It didn't end there, but it almost did. Bobby Latham in the big ring. So Bobby caught me Monday morning in the hallway, and he had 3 or 4 of his buddies with me, and he told me that my fight with Bill wasn't over. And he wanted to know if I wanted to come outside right then. I said no, of course not. That'd be stupid. He had 5 guys with him. And Bobby was just a little bit bigger than me. We were about the same height, close to 5'10". Anyway, that doesn't matter. So what happened next is that night I played chess, and I had time. I didn't have to go to the steakhouse to work. I didn't have any other jobs. And so I was messing around in the chess room with Les Corey, who was our instructor, and I walked out to go back to my locker, and there was Bobby Latham all alone in the hall. Now, Dad had told me, among other things, he said, you don't corner a rat unless you're ready for the rat to bite you. Give him a way out. So as I'm walking up to Bobby, he's got his hand in his pocket. I figure he's probably reaching for a knife. I didn't know for sure. This is Bobby, stop. I said, here's your one and only opportunity right now to fight. And if you want to get it on, let's get it on. And he said, well, I said, you'll do shit. You won't do anything. I said, we either fight now or you make another word about fighting, it'll be on my terms. And Dad's the one that taught me that. So now we leave Bobby. He decided he didn't want to fight. Go figure. And we turn to Iran. And the bullshit is going on politically. The America's power to create all kinds of economic hardship for them. Their desire to be a player on the world scene and to have nuclear weapons and the threat of nuclear weapons. You put all of that into a big package. I can't speak for the politicians. I'm no longer one. I've had a couple of elected offices. But here's what I know. I'd fix them right away. Right away. And then I'd let the rest of the world fall out however it's going to fall out. We, the United States, nor any other country, should have to deal with a bully. And the way we deal with them is we knock them down and we pull their fangs out. We got a lot of different ways to do that. We play the game of world dominance through financial dominance, but the real bottom line is, when it comes down to the fight, who can hit the hardest, the fastest, and have the most impact and effect. And we don't have to put up with this bullshit. So I'm a proponent. I don't want to go to war. I don't want to see my kids or my grandkids. I won't be my kids, be my grandkids. I don't want to see them fighting. Just the opposite. Love and world peace. I'm a product of the 60s. Let's have some flowers. Let's dance around a maypole. But the bottom line is, anybody who's a politician and talks about diplomatic treatment of Iran at this point has their head up their ass, and they're thinking the world's rosy brown, but what they're really looking through is a layer of shit. Iran needs to be dealt with. It needs to be dealt with in such a way that every country, and it doesn't matter whether it's China posturing or Russia or whoever it is, on that side of the fence, or us, the UK, Israel, on our side of the fence, it doesn't matter. Iran needs the kind of spanking that they'll put them to bed crying and they'll wake up the next morning with a new attitude toward life and existence. So much for that. I don't consider this a rant. I think it's part of the reality that comes out of my personal experience and training. And then I have more to add to this a different day. So for now, right now, I thank you for spending your time with me. Time is precious. And when it's gone, we don't get it back in this mortality. I appreciate each and every one of you, however many it is who watch this. Whether it's 3, 30, 300, 30,000, I don't care. It makes me feel good when I see likes and shares, but you treat this however you want to. If you have comments to make on my timeline, I welcome.